For this week's reflection, I decided to focus on one major Polish multinational company, and the largest company that Poland has is actually this company called Orlen. And Orlen is a Polish multinational oil refiner, petrol retailer, and a natural gas trader. So let me tell you a little bit about Orlen. So, Orlen was founded on September 7th, 1999, in Plock, Poland, and it is still headquartered in Plock to this day. Right now, there is a relatively new CEO. He was appointed in April 2024. His name is Irenas Fafara. And right now, the stock price, this is as of Tuesday morning, on Tuesday, October 1st morning, it's about $15.30 USD for a single stock. And actually, this was pretty shocking to me. The largest shareholder is the Polish state, who owns 49.9% of those shares. So, what does Orlen do? So, like I said, Orlen is this gas, petrol, energy place, and so they do a lot of refining. They actually have 7 refineries in multiple different countries, and these refineries produce over 30 million tons a year of crude oil, and they also create about zero point 0.3 million tons a year of biofuel products. Um, they create a lot of petrochemicals. There are 40 petrochemicals products that are marketed to lots of countries around the world, and there are a lot of specialty products within these petrochemicals. Power and energy generation, there are over 200,000 kilometers of power lines that Orlen owns and operates, and they actually produce a lot of power for many places throughout Europe. Retail, there's about 3,500 fuel stations in a few different countries. There's about 2,600 non-fuel format points, and there are over 15 million customers of these fuel stations and 3 million electricity consumers for Orlen electricity. And then upstream is this kind of new thing that I don't entirely understand. It's very scientific, but it's this hydrocarbon production, which is supposed to be a greener form of energy. And when I get into like some transportation of how they move their products around, they are experimenting and working with some hydrocarbon, like trains and locomotives to kind of go greener on some things. But that's just an overview of what they do. And internationally, in Europe, they work in 20 countries, including Poland, so 19 other countries. In Asia, they work in 3 countries. In Africa, they work in 4 countries. It's one of the largest companies in Central and Eastern Europe, just like companies overall, not just like power companies, gas companies, stuff like that. Just one of the largest companies according to Fortune Global 500, Platts Top 250, and the Thomson Reuters Top 100. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, there are over 3,400 fuel stations located in 7 countries, and a few of those major countries are Poland, obviously, Czechia, and Lithuania. That's where a lot of these fuel stations are, but they are in a couple other countries as well. And these petrochemicals are sold to over 60 countries. And that's when I'll get into like the transportation. Oh, well, I'm getting into the transportation of commodities now. And so those petrochemicals and some other chemicals and kind of dangerous goods are transported. So it's important that this company has a reliable and safe transportation method to transport all of these chemicals and bioenergy or biofuel products and everything like that. So approximately 3 million tons of goods are transported per year, and that'll be all over Europe primarily, but then also to the other countries where there are like products that they buy, like the African and Asian countries, the few that there are that use this company. And so, like I said, specialization in transportation of dangerous goods, so like the fuel, pressure gases, special chemicals, the petrochemicals, all of these dangerous goods are going to need a safe way to be transported compared to other commodities that companies make where it could just be any type of transportation. But some other goods that they do make are also like these bulk substrates, which don't really require any super rules and regulations for safety concerns, but the fuel, gases, and special chemicals are important to be transported safely. So in Europe, they use these multi-system locomotives, which is what they're working on. They are creating some types of these like hydrocarbon locomotive things. It's totally goes over my head with all this science stuff, but they're going a little bit greener, which is good. And in Europe, with these multi-system locomotives, there's like a guaranteed delivery time across the 20 countries that use it. So it's easy to predict when the commodities and goods are actually going to end up in European countries. However, international transport, they have worked on a very cost-efficient and energy-efficient method, which is just using one locomotive the entire time to transport these goods. But because it's like past borders and continent borders, there's no guaranteed delivery time, but these countries outside of Europe still do get their goods. So working at Orlen, I wanted to focus on how the laborers are actually being treated, and for the most part, people who work at Orlen are like engineers and people like that who are who are using the fuel to make stuff and then actually mining and finding the fuel. But I did a lot of research on Glassdoor to see, I read a lot of reviews and stuff to see how people view working at Orlen. There's a general consensus, it's a 3.6 out of 5-star rating. It is a little outdated, I will say, because it says that the current CEO on where I was reading the Glassdoor reviews is the past CEO, but the new CEO just started in April, so this is probably a little bit before April that people were saying. But 67% out of the total 50 reviews would recommend working here to a friend, and then there was very low approval rating for the CEO, a 32% approval rating for him, the past CEO. I have seen that the new CEO has been doing a lot, and people are starting to like him a lot more. I don't have like a number of that approval rating though. So there were a lot of complaints about there being a lot of pressure at work, and salaries were very, very different. Obviously, depending on the job that they had, but depending on the position, it was either a good salary for that position or a pretty bad salary for the position that they had. So it varied a lot in terms of who liked their salary and who didn't. For the most part, though, people tended to like their salary and think it was a good or okay salary. There were a few reviews I read that thought that it wasn't, though. It is difficult to build up in your career, I was reading, because I know that you have a year that you have to stay at your position before you can think about a raise or building up. At least that's what I was reading in the reviews or something. It was translated from Polish, so probably wasn't the most reliable Google translation there, but they did say that it was difficult to build up in your career. That's 100% certain. That was a very common complaint as well. And the management tended to be political, they were saying. So those are just some of the cons. And then some of the pros were that it was a very friendly atmosphere. People really enjoyed the coworkers that they worked with. Management, however, sometimes not really. Some positions they did enjoy their management, though. And then there was overtime pay and holiday pay, and overall it was pretty easy to get a flexible schedule. So that is the end of this presentation, and I just wanted to focus on one of the largest companies in Poland, or the largest company in Poland, one of the largest companies in Europe overall right now, and I had never heard of this company, so it was really interesting learning about them and seeing what they're doing and how they're doing, and kind of how it differentiates from like U.S. companies, like energy companies and stuff. So it was really interesting to see that. But yeah.